Welcome to the Podkey Summary of WidgetKit Foundations from WWDC 2026. Today's catch-up is all about what makes a widget actually useful instead of just decorative. The big themes are pretty simple. Widgets need to be quick to read, smart about timing, and connected cleanly back into the app. And once you get into the mechanics, a lot of it comes down to timelines, careful updates, and giving people just enough interaction without turning the widget into a tiny, chaotic app. The core idea starts with glanceability. A widget should make sense in a quick look, the way a weather widget tells you the forecast right now without asking you to stop and study it. It also has to feel relevant, and that usually means relevant to time, your habits, or your location. A calendar widget is the obvious example because it changes with the day and shows what's coming up when that information is actually useful. That's really the standard here. If the widget isn't helping in the moment, it's probably just wallpaper with ambitions. Under the hood, WidgetKit works through a timeline. That timeline is made up of entries, and each entry represents what the widget should look like at a specific moment. So instead of constantly asking for fresh content every second, the system gets a plan for what to show over time. There are also snapshots and placeholders, and they do different jobs. A snapshot is the realistic preview you'd want in the widget gallery, while a placeholder is the instant synchronous version the system can show before real data is ready. It's a nice little division of labor that keeps things feeling fast without pretending fake data is the final answer. Once you've got a timeline, the next question is when to ask for more. The add-in policy says, reload when you've used up all the entries. That works well for something like a daily reading goal, where you can keep extending the plan, and there isn't some hard stop built into the day. The after-date policy is more scheduled. You tell the system to reload at a specific date, which is a good fit for something like a schedule widget that needs to recalculate once the day rolls over. It's a small distinction, but it matters, because it changes whether your widget feels thoughtfully timed or just vaguely awake. There's also more screen real estate to work with now. visionOS 26 introduced an extra-large portrait family, and iOS, macOS, and iPadOS 27 added a similar option. That gives developers more space for richer, more detailed content without cramming everything into the same old layout. The practical tool here is the Supported Families modifier. That lets you reuse the same provider across multiple sizes while still tailoring the SwiftUI view for each family, so the design doesn't feel stretched or squished. A good widget usually shouldn't be a dead end. With widget URL, a widget can carry a deep link, like the ID for a specific book. Then when someone taps it, the app opens straight to that detail page instead of dumping them at the front door and making them find it again. That sounds basic, but it's a big part of making the whole system feel seamless. The widget gives you the quick glance, and the app picks up the story exactly where you left off. Configurable widgets push that a little further. Using app intents, people can choose parameters right from the home screen configuration UI, like picking a specific book for a reading log widget. The advice here is refreshingly modest. Keep the configuration light. 1 or 2 parameters is usually enough, and sensible defaults matter because the whole experience should stay quick and friendly. If configuring the widget starts to feel like filling out a tiny tax form, something has gone sideways. Widgets can also do more than open the app. Buttons and toggles can run app intents directly, which means someone could mark a chapter complete right there in the widget. That's the same general idea you see in reminders, where checking off a task works without making you launch the full app. The key is to surface the most important action, not every possible action. A widget works best when it offers one helpful move at the right time, not a tiny control panel with commitment issues. Visual polish matters too, especially with tinted and clear modes. When the system applies one of those looks, widgets render with a glass material, so developers need to test both modes and make sure the design still holds together. If an image really needs to stay full color, like a book cover, The widget accented rendering mode modifier can force that full color rendering in accented mode. This is one of those details people only notice when it goes wrong, which is usually how design bugs introduce themselves. On the development side, SwiftUI previews do a lot of heavy lifting. They let developers quickly test different widget families, color schemes, and rendering modes without constantly bouncing out of Xcode. And if timeline work is slowing things down, WidgetKit developer mode can lift the usual reload budget constraints. That makes it much easier to test update behavior quickly instead of sitting there politely waiting for the system to cooperate. The last piece is the update budget, and it's important because WidgetKit does not hand out unlimited refreshes. Each widget gets a limited budget, and that budget is influenced by how often the user actually views it, all in service of preserving battery life across the day. Frequent reloads while the app is in the foreground may get throttled, so the recommended pattern is to do a final reload when the app moves into the background. That way, the widget is ready with fresh content when the person returns to the home screen, without spending the whole afternoon frantically updating itself for no real reason. So the through line in all of this is pretty clear. The best widgets are timely, focused, and respectful of both attention and battery. When they're built well, they feel less like mini apps and more like the app quietly meeting you where you are. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.